This indoor flea market had a ton of awesome stuff, and I ended up finding some pretty crazy stuff. So stick around to the very end to see everything, but let's go ahead and make our way out there. So, of course, I headed right into Redbeard's treasure chest. This is an indoor flea market that I maybe go to once a month, but the first thing that I saw on this end cap was a few PS4 games, and then this Britney's Dance Beat, which has been here for a long time. Then this next booth ended up having 2 sports games that are probably not even worth like $3 or $4, so I continued on pretty quickly after I saw that. Then I made my way to this booth where I ended up spotting the Squirtle plush from afar, as well as this Pikachu one. And I looked around a little bit more, but didn't ultimately end up finding anything. This booth ended up having this Peach, but they wanted way too much for this little thing. Probably worth like $2 or $3. I've spotted a few games here in this corner. This booth always has these games and no one's ever bought anything. And as you can tell, they have a ton of Disney Infinity and Skylanders here, and even a Princess Peach, which was a quarter of the price of the other one. But I ultimately have these two and I don't really need the Mario or the Peach. So I continued on to this booth where I was spinning this rack and noticed a few Wii games, but it was those Wii games that nobody wants. I spotted a green case from afar. It was Call of Duty. I already have this one, another game here, and another game there, and another game, but nothing I had to have. So I turned around and spotted this booth, which usually has games. Another Madden 19. I don't know why, but I saw a few of these today, but on the other side, they ended up having this Super Nintendo game complete in the box. This has been here since the very first time I've came, and yeah, you know I'm not going to pick it up. Then here on the other side of that shelf is actually a few games that I was interested in checking out just to see if there was anything there that was worth it. And unfortunately, the only game that piques my interest is a game that's been here for a while, and it's a little overpriced, so I did ultimately end up leaving it. But then I came across this booth. This booth usually has video game stuff, which is totally awesome. Right off the bat, you could see I'm finding some good stuff. Lego Hobbit, Nintendo Land, this Dragon Ball Z game for the Xbox 360, and Bakugan for the Wii. A ton of little video game plushies. That Mewtwo looks rough, but I kind of looked through here. It looks like all of these plushies here are brand new, and so they're priced a little bit more than I would want to pay, but that's perfectly okay. No problem there. And then I ended up spotting this SpongeBob GameCube game here, which was definitely worth grabbing. So I grabbed both of these games for $10 and $15, which was awesome. And then I made my way into this booth. This guy is a viewer of the channel. I've seen him comment, so he has an awesome thing going on here. I love to see this booth every time I go here. The prices are usually good. I can pick through and find some stuff that are worth picking up. And of course, you know, I had to do that. I checked out all of the sections here in the PS1 section. I ended up finding 2 games that were definitely worth picking up. Cardinal Sin, I don't have that in my collection, so I ended up grabbing that, as well as I was looking, I thought about getting that Tomb Raider, but I already have it in my collection, so I didn't grab it. I did grab this Broken Helix as well. Those 2 games were not badly priced. One was $20 and one was $15, and they were both complete in the box. So I ended up grabbing those 2. Then I looked through the Wii section. Below that was the PS2 section. The PS3 section below that. I did catch my eye on this PS4 game, but ultimately I ended up realizing it wasn't anything I needed. Same with the PS3 section. I kind of looked through it pretty quickly, didn't see anything. Made my way down to the PS2 section, which this guy has got a lot of awesome games here, but nothing that was kind of jumping out that I had to have. I checked out the Xbox original, and then I ended up spotting a few good games here that caught my eye, but nothing that I had to pick up. So I went to the Xbox 360 section here, which again, like, these are good places to find games. There is a bunch of awesome stuff here. I checked out the Xbox One section, made my way to the GameCube and the PS2, PSP section up above, and these have been kind of games that I already have in my collection. So then I went to the Super Nintendo section where I actually found a few good games. I ended up finding World Tetris there. Then I ended up grabbing as well Aladdin. I ended up putting this Aladdin back actually, but anytime I see that game, I'm definitely interested. I love that game and I have it in my collection, so I left it behind. Then I ended up finding this Thunder Spirits game, which was pretty cool, as well as Super Mario World. And then I ended up looking through the NES games here while I was at the booth. I figured, let's see if there's anything I absolutely have to have. I found a Super Mario Bros. 2, which is a solid staple, but the TMT arcade game as well. I didn't need any of those, so I left them behind. I looked at a few Sega Genesis games and some of his consoles as well. Then I ended up picking up these games right here, starting off with Pilot Wings for the Super Nintendo. Then I ended up getting that Thunder Spirits game, which looks interesting. I know nothing about it. A Super Mario World, which I've got a plan for this, so I had to pick this up. I got something on my sleeves for it. And then Wordtris, the name on this one always confused me. And then I got Broken Helix, as well as Cardinal Sin, both on the PlayStation 1. And then this booth, like 2 booths over, had a Digimon game that was worth like $70 complete, but they wanted a little too much, so I ended up leaving that behind. If it was cheaper, I might have picked it up, but there's a Nintendo Land and a few games down below here that are just cartridge-based games. These have been here for a little bit. This one always makes me laugh, and I've thought about picking it up, but for $14, I don't think so. I found a Barbie game for the Wii. I mean, does anybody need Barbie's Peppy Rescue? If you do, I know where to find it. And then I ended up stumbling upon a few games here, a few loose games for the Wii U. These have been here for a little bit. I kind of combed through them pretty quickly just because these are good prices if you're looking for disc-based games that are loose, but I don't really need them, so I kind of just kept going, and I didn't really find anything that was worth it, but I knew back behind was this booth as well that usually has a few games in the corner. And lo and behold, I ended up finding some. Nothing to write home about, and even an amiibo, but always got to stop and look to see if there was anything I had to have. Then this booth kind of is an end cap wall, but they had games on this little shelf, and I got to be careful not to drop them. For the most part, it was just like Just Dance games or like games that I see a million times. So I didn't end up finding anything there, which is kind of a bummer, but that's okay. I continued on here where I stumbled across this booth where I actually ended up finding a few Xbox One and Xbox 360 games. I feel like the last time I was here, I kind of dug through this and found them, but ultimately, I didn't end up grabbing anything there. Then right next to that was a Xbox 360, which I was very tempted to pick up, but ultimately it was a little too expensive, so I did end up leaving that behind. Then I continued on to the last row in the very back of the store, and that's when I found a 3DS game up in the top corner, as well as a DS game. And down below was a Lego Batman game for the Wii, but ultimately I ended up finding some decent games. Nothing absolutely crazy, except some of these prices are really good, but I did find games that I don't have in my collection, and some of them really interest me. So starting off, you guys saw me pick up in that one booth. I ended up paying $25 for both of these. It is SpongeBob SquarePants Creature from the Krusty Krab for the GameCube, and this is complete, which is awesome. The manual is back behind there. And then this Dragon Ball Z Battle of Z for the Xbox 360. I don't have this in my collection, so I had to grab this. I think I'm going to try to trade this here pretty soon. I've got some stuff up in my sleeve. And then that resale booth that sells a bunch of video games. I love going to that one when I'm in the area because they always have some good stuff, and if you dig through it, you can find some good deals. So I ended up getting 2 PlayStation 1 games, and 4 Super Nintendo games, starting off with Pilot Wings. This game is absolutely awesome. When I saw it, I was like, okay, I've got to pick that up. Then I ended up picking up a game I have no clue about, and that ended up being Thunder Spirits. The name is interesting to me. It wasn't that expensive, and the artwork looks totally awesome, so I ended up grabbing that with no knowledge about it. Then you guys saw me. Super Mario World. I got a plan for this one, so stick around for that one. And last but not least for the Super Nintendo was Word Tris. I always want to say Tetris World, just because I don't know why they named it this, but when I saw this, for that price, I had to grab it. And last but not least was that 2 PS1 games. First off, Cardinal Sin looks absolutely crazy and wild. It's a 3D fighter, and I'm definitely going to enjoy it. And then Broken Helix looked like a weird, action-adventure game. So when I saw these both complete, I don't have either one of them in my collection. I knew I had to grab them. So overall, I would say this was a pretty good haul. Now, I know you're probably thinking, Eric, you bought, what, 8 games? Well, that's pretty impressive considering all of these were well worth picking up. So, I ended up having a good time at Redbeard's Treasure Chest. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't, and this time I'm considering this a hit. There's some good games here and some games I don't have in my collection, which is always awesome to me. So in this video, I had a ton of fun, but I gotta get out of here, so check that video out if you haven't already. I think I'm most excited to play probably either Cardinal Sin or Broken Helix. I don't know. It's October now, and I'm just kind of getting into the spooky theme, and I think these were right up against that, but all the rest of these games are definitely interesting. I've got a few I'm gonna do something with, but you'll find out about that later. I gotta get out of here, so make sure you check that video out if you haven't already.